Dr. Emmanuel Manny Hostin, an orthopedic surgeon and husband of the View co-host Sonny Hostin, is accused in December lawsuit fraudulently billing insurance. By the way, this is a Daily Caller story I'm reading. The lawsuit alleges Hostin knowingly provided fraudulent medical and other healthcare services in exchange for kickbacks and or compensation, and names him among nearly 200 defendants in one of New York's largest RICO cases.
For more, we go to our chief Sonny Hostin correspondent for a reaction.
Sonny Hostin probably thought she was just having an off day until Greg Gutfeld and Tyrus rolled up like sarcastic assassins at a roast battle. They didn't come to play, they came locked and loaded with savage one-liners and surgical level shade. Her husband's mind-blowing $450 million court case? That was just the warm-up. What followed was a televised beatdown so brutal it made courtroom drama look like a Disney movie. Tyrus struck the match, and Gutfeld fanned the flames with precision, like he'd been waiting years for this very moment. And Sonny? Her silence hit harder than any clapback, so loud it felt like it echoed off the studio walls. Then, boom, something clearly struck a nerve. And what came next? Total shock. Turns out this legal mess isn't just some minor footnote. It's deep, it's ugly, and the receipts? Oh yeah, the receipts are wild.
About 31% of Americans trust our healthcare system. We have a terrible healthcare system, and doctors suffer because of big corporations as well. Doctors that want to do good, like my husband, operates on someone even though they don't have insurance, and then has to sue health insurance companies to get paid for the work that he's been trained his whole life to do.
And it is funny. She's so wrapped up in identity, and she had no idea who.
For years, Sonny Hostin strutted onto The View like she ran a daytime courtroom. Gavel in one hand, superiority complex in the other. She didn't just offer opinions, she handed out verdicts. One wrong take and boom, you're banned from the brunch table. But this week, the queen of courtroom clapbacks got dragged into her own legal nightmare. A $450 million disaster with her name splashed all over the headlines. Get your popcorn ready, because Greg Gutfeld and Tyrus showed up like roast comedians on a mission, engines revved and sarcasm aimed right at Sonny. They didn't hold back. For years, she's made a living off of being perpetually outraged. If there was a moral high horse to climb, Sonny was already at the top swinging judgment like a lightsaber. She's built a brand on being the face of televised outrage, a mix of courtroom drama and reality TV chaos, all dressed up as commentary. But now that her own husband's allegedly drowning in financial drama so wild it makes the FTX collapse look like a middle school fundraiser, yeah, that energy hit different.
Man that will go after white America and talk about them like dogs. That doesn't represent our ideals or values for anyone. And get rid of those people, and this will clear up real quick. So do you have to actually look in the mirror and clean up your own backyard and get the racist people out? Because that's who you allowed in. You allowed black racist on TV who could just go all day and say anything about white people. And I guess lo and behold, they forgot that there's a lot of people at home, white people at home during the day that are not watching your show anymore. So just clean it up.
Yeah, Emily.
Now suddenly it's all, please respect our privacy and let's not rush to judgment. Oh, how the tables turn. When it's someone else caught in the fire, Sonny's the first to light the match. But now that the spotlight's on her own front porch, radio silence. The self-proclaimed queen of legal hot takes has magically discovered the art of keeping her mouth shut. And honestly, that silence deserves a standing ovation because it's louder than anything she's ever said on air. Enter Greg Gutfeld and Tyrus, armed with sharp tongues and the timing of veteran comedians. They weren't about to let this jaw-dropping contradiction slide. They went in, chewing on that hypocrisy like it was the main course after a week-long fast. The timing? Oh, it was chef's kiss. Just too perfect to ignore.
Hostin's obsession with race gets thrown back in her face. Today's video comes to us from Sonny Hostin. Sounds like a town. We're in Sonny Hostin. She was on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show dedicated to researching celebrity ancestry. For context, Sonny is a staunch supporter of reparations and has made a fortune spewing nonsense about white privilege and racial justice. Well, turns out she's not as oppressed as she claims she is. She's actually the descendant of slave owners from
Greg Gutfeld, aka the undisputed champ of exposing media nonsense, hit the stage like a sniper with punchlines. Deadly accurate and hilariously timed. He treated Sonny Hostin's Ancestry bombshell like a full-blown victory lap on live TV. And then there was Tyrus, posted up like a man ready to toast marshmallows over the scorched remains of Sonny's credibility. It wasn't just commentary, it was a celebration, a roast, a reckoning. Let's break down this $450 million courtroom disaster, shall we? Headlines and tweets are flying like confetti, and smack in the middle of it is Sonny's husband, allegedly tangled in one of the wildest legal webs since Enron. Fraud, financial games, shady backdoor deals, it's all there. And Sonny, the woman who treats every Republican lawsuit like a grand jury audition, she's now quieter than a phone on airplane mode. No comments, no rants, no side eyes, just complete radio silence. More silent than a broken Alexa.
Makes Sonny Hostin, who thinks climate change caused the solar eclipse, the dumbest of them all. Because everyone knows the moon caused the eclipse, which is controlled by the View's gravitational pull.
It's like someone reached into Sonny's brain, yanked out her inner prosecutor, and replaced her with a glitching screensaver. But don't get it twisted. This mess isn't just about dollar signs and scandal scale. It's the irony that hits hardest. This is the same woman who built an entire persona around dissecting everyone else's legal disasters like it was a personal sport. The moment a conservative gets sued, she's already rehearsing her dramatic closing argument like it's Emmy season. But now, with her own world falling apart, suddenly it's let's wait for the facts. That's not just ironic, that's elite level performance art. Greg Gutfeld, he wasted zero time. He rolled out a segment that felt more like a courtroom roast than a news recap. If hypocrisy were a competitive event, Sonny would have swept the podium. Gold, silver, and bronze. And in the background, you could almost hear Tyrus loading up, ready to slice through the nonsense.
Their brains are small. But who's the dumbest one of all? True, none of them are in Mensa, but who's the most densa? Perhaps it's Sonny who mastered the art of making idiots look smart. Now the View could ask a mirror who's the dumbest one of all, but there's no way that glass doesn't shatter.
And oh, when Tyrus swung that verbal blade, he didn't just aim for the jugular, he carved right through the whole phony act, with the chill of a man who's binge-watched way too much daytime drama and finally decided to dish some justice. He went in with no hesitation. He didn't just call out the scandal, he went after the ego, the smugness, the endless self-righteous lectures Sonny has been delivering for years. Her entire TV persona crumbled faster than a cookie in a heat wave. And when the courtroom queen loses her crown in front of a live audience, you better believe Tyrus is there, velvet pillow in hand, holding it up like a trophy. Meanwhile, don't think we forgot the rest of the Viewcast. This is the same crew that normally erupts over every political headline like they're auditioning for Broadway. But this time, nothing. Just awkward silence like the Wi-Fi cut out mid-rant. Joy Behar, who's usually loud enough to break glass 2 floors up, suddenly looked like she'd seen a ghost. And Whoopi Goldberg, queen of long-winded soapbox speeches, could barely muster a shrug.
Sure, all that, and the price of butter. Sonny gets the game ball. If it wasn't for her, asking that question, it might have been a closer election. Listen, they're bitter, they're angry, they're entitled. They also should be. This should have been a reset for everyone who pushed lies and misinformation for the last. They called him Hitler. They call these things. America rejected them, and instead of coming back and saying we lied, they instead are now doubling down. So let her keep doing it, because if she keeps that up, we're going to keep getting the Senate and probably the House and the White House, because people see right through your lies. So keep doing what you're doing. Game ball to.
It's crazy when you really think about it. These are the same folks who once threw a full-blown meltdown on air because a conservative mispronounced a word, but now, with a $450 million scandal blowing up like a grenade in their own backyard, suddenly it's all crickets and caution. Now everything's complicated and nuanced. Convenient, huh? Meanwhile, Twitter's on fire. Memes are flooding the internet faster than Sonny can sip from that oversized mug. And trust, she didn't just get roasted, she got incinerated. Greg Gutfeld, always the sniper with a punchline, turned the whole situation into a masterclass on media elitism. He dragged The View for its phony transparency and phoned-in outrage. Because when it's someone else in trouble, they scream about accountability. But when it's their own house on fire, silence. And Gutfeld didn't even raise his voice. Just hit them with that deadpan delivery that lands harder than a mic drop in a silent room. Then came Tyrus, cool as ever, gearing up for a takedown drier than desert heat. He mocked the idea that Sunny, of all people, should be giving legal advice while simultaneously helping her husband spin PR for a financial scandal that's practically radioactive. And the only thing spinning faster than the allegations? Sunny's moral compass, twisting like a politician strapped to a polygraph.
End of time. You're right. Anytime she says something stupid, I'm going to go, slave owner. Kat, I just watched that. That's the second time I've watched that. She was tipped off beforehand, right? Because they had to tell her before, so she had time to regroup. They wouldn't just surprise. Really? You think? No?
I don't know. I feel like she could have maybe done better. Okay, here's the thing. One thing, and I would have even actually not give her any is she said, well, like, I guess that's just what, like, they did back then.
Yeah.
She should have followed that up with saying something along the lines of, and I understand that that's a departure from the way I've talked about this before.
And the cherry on top, The View acted like none of it ever happened. Not a whisper, not a headline, not even a vague one-liner. This is the same panel that can spend 20 minutes unpacking Taylor Swift's dating life, but a $450 million lawsuit crashing through Sunny's front door. Radio silence. Was it damage control or just straight up fear? You be the judge. Meanwhile, Greg Gutfeld closed it out with a line so cold it could have iced over the set. With that innocent smirk only he can pull off, he casually asked if Sunny would like to swing by his show for a chat about accountability. Pure sarcasm, gift-wrapped in irony, and delivered with a side of SPF-worthy shade. Tyrus, he leaned into the camera and hit us with that signature smirk, the kind that says, "Told you so." But this wasn't just about Sunny Hostin. This whole disaster was a full-blown mirror held up to the hypocrisy circus that's been parading across mainstream media for years. These so-called truth-tellers love to play moral referee until the spotlight hits their mess.
It's not even that. In The View, you don't need to find Trumpers. You need to fire your race baiters.
Yeah.
You need to fire the two races. You've had people. You had a McCain on there. You've had people on there before, and you ran them off. Mm-hmm. So the racist ones who want to stick to this, Whoopi and Sunny, and the, was it Bette Midler? What's her name? Yeah, broke-ass Bette Midler. Fire them and bring people in. Maybe you could get McCain to come back.
Then suddenly, it's like we've been dropped into a full-blown Broadway production. Denial, the musical. These folks love to quote legal codes like scripture until you realize their own moral commandments are scribbled on cocktail napkins and tossed in the trash. Now cue the defenders. They rush to Sunny's aid, screaming, she shouldn't be judged for her husband's actions. And sure, on paper, that sounds fair. If she hadn't spent years dragging other people's families through the mud like it was a sport. But now that the fire's at her own doorstep, she wants nuance. She wants empathy. Sorry, this isn't just a double standard. It's a full-blown double-decker hypocrisy tour bus blasting a foghorn of denial. And don't get too comfy. This scandal's just getting warmed up. More receipts are bound to drop. Sunny might have to do more than just flash her usual smug stare during commercial breaks. A statement, a brief leave, or maybe it's time to just dial down that moral superiority complex. And finally...
That's not what I read. The true sign of the apocalypse is someone that dumb has a law degree. Worse, if your name has the word sun in it, there's no excuse for not knowing how an eclipse works. But it's no surprise that Joy is the one who understands science. She's been on the science diet for years.
No matter what comes next, the fallout's already gone nuclear. Sunny Hostin's credibility didn't just take a hit, it got obliterated. Sure, The View was never exactly the gold standard of journalism, but this scandal, it ripped off the last shreds of credibility like a cheap Halloween costume. Now the show's less panel discussion, more daytime mafia, tight-knit, defensive, and ready to protect their own no matter what. Loyalty over logic, always. Hoping for a little self-awareness. Don't bother. You've got better odds waiting for a thunderstorm in the Sahara. These are the same people who trip over their own contradictions and somehow still blame conservatives. And Sunny, the woman who never met a political scandal she couldn't overanalyze to death, is now MIA. The former interrupter-in-chief, the queen of courtroom hot takes, has suddenly gone radio silent. She's not just quiet, she's vanished behind a wall of strategic silence.
She is shaming descendants of this. Will she continue to do that when she is now one of them, Dana? And it is funny. She is so wrapped up in identity and she had no idea who she was.
Well, now we understand why she always makes Whoopi get the coffee.
This is the same woman who could take a 10-second squirrel video and somehow twist it into a full legal critique of Capitol Hill policy. But now, faced with a $450 million legal bombshell starring her own husband, poof, Sunny's voice disappeared like a Snapchat message. Gone are the smug interruptions. Gone are the self-righteous legal rants. No fire, no flare, just Sunny, frozen in place like someone hit pause on her whole personality. Viewers were locked in, waiting for her to break, maybe throw out an objection at her own reflection, but instead, just stiff blinks and desperate sips from that bottomless coffee mug. And Greg Gutfeld? He noticed. Oh, he definitely noticed. The man doesn't even flinch during verbal combat.
Anna went in a different direction, but I love the fact that, you know, Manny is younger and he's
How much younger is he?
Just a little bit.
He's like 1 year, isn't he? Like a month or a year or 10 years?
No,
5 years.
It's more than a year.
Oh.
Anyway, it's not about me. I think.
Oh, no.
I think that it's very helpful that he's handy, and when we travel, I'm not picking up any bags. He's the one that's hefting them overhead. He
Exactly.
throws the garbage out.
Right.
He does the heavy.
Let's be real, Sunny's usual move is to jump in mid-conversation with a smug, actually, that's not how the law works. But this time, not a peep, just stiff posture, tight lips, and the energy of someone playing defense in a PR nightmare. Now, the only thing she's lawyering up is her facial expressions, because suddenly that due process she's always preaching, yeah, it's parked right outside her house. And it's not knocking politely, it's serving subpoenas. The interruptions that once made her the loudest voice on The View, gone. Now she just sits there, blinking like she's buffering in real time, sipping from that ridiculously oversized mug like it's filled with vanishing cream and panic. Meanwhile, viewers are watching with popcorn in hand, half expecting her to yell "objection" at thin air. But that silence, that's not grace under pressure. It's full-blown panic mode. A desperate attempt to dodge, stall, and outlast a scandal stomping through the studio like a rampaging elephant in Gucci. Her body language said it all. Arms crossed tighter than her PR team's email filter, shoulders drawn up like she was trying to duck a subpoena mid-show, and her eyes darting around like she was scanning the ceiling tiles for legal advice or divine intervention. Every topic that even hinted at fraud or financial crime had her looking like she was trying to will herself invisible. You could practically hear her inner monologue screaming, "Please change the subject. Please don't ask me that." It was courtroom mime meets nervous breakdown. And the rest of The View? You'd think the teleprompter had crashed. No one dared bring it up. Not Joy, not Whoopi, not even the ones who normally can't wait to throw a conservative under the bus for a parking ticket. Their silence wasn't classy, it was tactical, like a crew on a sinking ship trying not to make sudden moves. The real kicker? The audience noticed, the viewers noticed, and Greg Gutfeld, oh, he definitely noticed. And when Gutfeld notices, you already know it's too late, because this man doesn't blink in verbal combat. He circles, he studies, and then he strikes, with one-liners so precise they feel like legal filings dressed as punchlines. And while she's out here giving the most awkward performance of her life, staring into the abyss and blinking like a teleprompter's gone rogue, Greg Gutfeld and Tyrus are throwing a front row party for the takedown we didn't know we needed. In a world where moral outrage is a performance and double standards are the script, these two came with no filter, no mercy, just straight up catharsis. Sunny built a career on torching others. Now she's getting roasted on her own set, and the internet lives for it. Will she bounce back? Probably. The View has a habit of keeping hosts as long as they stay on message. Maybe she'll rebrand, drop a TED Talk titled "When Justice Gets Personal," and spin this as a growth moment. Who knows? But for now, the memes are flying, the shade is non-stop, and Greg and Tyrus are circling like comedy vultures, with punchlines in one hand and receipts in the other. Because when your whole career is built on passing judgment like it's party favors, don't be surprised when the gavel swings back, hard. So next time The View fires up another moral monologue from their self-appointed mountain of virtue, just remember, even the loudest voices can choke on their own script, especially when Gutfeld and Tyrus are ringside, cracking jokes and cueing the clips like it's a courtroom comedy special. If this is how Sunny handles a legal meltdown, we can't wait to see what happens when the ratings report drops. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.